I'm Norm Easterbrook, Director of RiverCenter here in Columbus, Georgia. For more than a year, the COVID-19 crisis has been ravaging our entertainment, arts, and cultural communities. The day that we can once again welcome audiences is now in sight, and we are eagerly planning how to restart the arts in Columbus, Georgia. You are an important part of our success, and you can help us get started even sooner. I join with my colleagues throughout the arts and entertainment community in encouraging you to get vaccinated as soon as you possibly can. Here at RiverCenter, we thought it would be useful to share with audiences and patrons of the arts how our various institutions have been managing this past year, but most importantly, what to look forward to as we restart the arts. RiverCenter, Arts in the Spotlight, is a series of conversations focusing on how restarting our entertainment, art, and cultural organizations will look and what that means to our community. Let's start the conversation. Today's conversation is with Ed Wolverton, who is the Executive Director of Uptown Columbus. Ed, thank you for taking the time to come on over and chat for a little bit.
Sure, thanks for having me.
You've been in town and Executive Director since, I think it's since May, isn't it?
No, September of 2020.
Since September.
Just 6 months.
6 months, okay.
As we're airing this.
Yeah, that's great. So here you go. Come on here to Columbus, and then we're going to shut the town down.
It's been an interesting transition for sure, yes.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know you yet. I can imagine the community, though you've been out and about and, sharing your experience with people and so on. Tell us a little bit, what brought you here, where you came from, how did you get into doing all this?
Sure, well, thanks for the question. So I moved here from Wilmington, North Carolina. I'd been there about 7 years. Prior to that, I was running the downtown development program in Greensboro, North Carolina. So this is a profession that I kind of backed my way into. I didn't really know for sure this is what I wanted to do with my career. But my first job out of college, I was working for a mayor, and one of his big primary points of emphasis was downtown development, and they tasked me with that job. And after going through all the local political cycle, I realized I didn't really care for being the city manager kind of a role. I really did like, however, the ability to work in downtowns, the historic preservation piece, helping entrepreneurs, building the communities, making places better and more enjoyable, and helping merchants and people wanting to realize their dreams for starting a business, and just found that was something I liked. So I went on that career path instead.
Sure, kind of just through experience and learning, a little bit about the business and working it out. That's great. Yeah. Before you came here, any major projects you worked on or anything?
Well, quite a few. Wilmington is also a river city, but it is located on the river. On the Atlantic Ocean as well. It's about 10 miles off, but we do have the Cape Fear River that runs through our uptown area. And we really went through a tremendous renaissance during my tenure there. Over $750 million worth of projects. Our hotel industry grew in our uptown area. We added about 140% of rooms to our downtown area. We also put a tremendous emphasis on our residential base. So we had a 70% growth of people living in the downtown area. And that really spanned the range between market rate housing, but also above market rate housing. Job creation was also very big for us as well. Nurturing the entrepreneur scene. We have a big movie and television presence in that community as well. So really worked in a wide variety of different fields to help grow that community and transition it to where it is today.
I think that's one of the characteristics of a downtown area. In the cities I've lived in, they're kind of an eclectic, kind of an amalgamation of everything from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Well, they really are, and many communities have come to realize the value of these older buildings, and they have such character and architectural significance. And there was a period not that long ago where some communities just thought, well, let's just tear these old buildings down. Let's get rid of them. They're not very functional. They're kind of obsolete. But more progressive communities actually looked at that as an asset and started to figure out ways they could renovate the buildings, bring them into modern day use, perhaps diversify what's happening inside the building. Hence you see some apartments or condominiums that may be opening up on the second or third floors of buildings, and then keeping the ground floor as a commercial interest. So those buildings just give so much character, and You can go to any big box store in any city and any fast food franchise restaurant, and they pretty much look the same no matter where you are. It doesn't matter what city, they're all pretty much designed that way. And it's by decision. I mean, right? They want to have a brand, a corporate identity. And when you go in there as a consumer, you can expect it's going to look like this. The paint will be on this aisle, or the furniture will be on that aisle. They're all the exact same, very intentional. But downtown areas are different. It's very eclectic, as you said. And the positioning of buildings, the style of architecture, you may have buildings that went back to the 1850s into the 1950s. So there's a wide range of styles in there. And it's also the center of local entrepreneurships, local ownerships. So there is not a unified theme in most downtowns. There's not a design standard they try to get to try to make everyone look the same. It's really celebrating the differences.
And that's kind of the part of the marketing scheme behind malls and so on. There are rules, kind of like a neighborhood association. You do things a certain way, and it's supposed to work for the good of the general order. You reminded me, I went into one of my favorite stores, and they had moved the light bulb aisle someplace else, and I did not quite know what to do with myself, because it's been in the same place at all the other places. But, do you ever have a thought or a mind towards trying to bridge between the two, between the downtown area, the eclectic nature of that, and then the kind of the homogenized nature of the malls and the big box stores?
Yes, there is a pretty interesting trend that was happening pre-pandemic, and I think it will resume once we do clear this time, in that you've really been seeing the death of malls across the entire country. More and more have been filing bankruptcy, and you've seen many that have been imploded or others that have totally changed their design. And so the shifting of what they call a lifestyle center, where it's not necessarily an enclosed pedestrian environment, but they are opening up more of the space, they're bringing in different uses, really trying to mimic what downtowns already have. And so one of the trends that you were seeing in some of the larger metropolitan cities, it hasn't hit us yet, but I think it's coming. You're starting to see Target stores go into urban areas. There's one in DC. You're starting to see Best Buys and a grocery store like Trader Joe's that will go into mixed-use urban settings as long as it's meeting the demographic characteristics of their customers. And so you're starting to see the realization by some of these national chains that there is, in fact, a different way to do business, and we can make it work in urban centers.
Yeah, that's great. Now, this is, we're sitting here in a theater on a stage. Tell me, how do you view the arts and the role that it plays in your work, and where does that all fit in?
Well, arts are absolutely crucial, and there's also an evolutionary trek with some urban areas where you really see oftentimes the real estate values were something 50 years ago that were way at the top, and then gentrification and disinvestment happened and people moved to the suburbs, and many properties fell into total disrepair. And that's when the artist would start coming in. And they could get buildings that may be a little bit more dilapidated, a little more edgy, that may not be in the best condition. And the artists were actually the ones that helped seed the change that has evolved many downtowns across the country. So the arts have a huge role in that visionary understanding that these old buildings can be something else, and having the execution to make that vision a reality. So as we kind of fast forward, you kind of think about Soho in the 1970s. So that's sort of sense for some people. So as we fast forward to today now, because of the artist roots of many revitalization in urban areas, you see theaters, you see nightclubs with live music, you see comedy clubs, all those activities that bring people together in a big way is really important. So I think downtowns and uptown continues to nurture that artistic side of the economic reality that we have here. And Columbus has just done such an amazing job with, of course, with what we hear at the RiverCenter and the Springer. But when you start even paying attention to things out on the sidewalk along Broadway, the art installations, the statues, the little things that just are different than anywhere else. And that is just so important to the overall vibrancy of a community. And it's just crucial that we continue to nurture and lean on the arts to help guide our redevelopment process. And this, from a pure economic standpoint, it's great to have for customers, for your customers, who can know they can come and park at the deck, walk across the street, grab a bite to eat before the show, after the show, maybe stop and get dessert. So having that walkable environment that everything is so close by, it helps to spur the economics of the businesses around you. So you're an important anchor.
Yeah. The anchor hasn't been here for the past year, which is kind of a segue into just kind of the little final part of what we do. We got just a few more minutes. Tell us about COVID and Uptown and what's gone on with that, number one. And then I don't want to really dwell too much on it because I think some of the responses are obvious, but there may be some things that folks don't know about. And then what are we looking forward to in the future? What's the optimistic word we have as we get out of this?
Sure. So we actually fared, I think, better than most would have expected in terms of the economic impact of COVID on Uptown. We just completed a survey of our small businesses. We found, well, a couple of different things. Let me stick with the survey, though, first. So we did find some job losses, which were expected, but a year-over-year period, we saw about a 9% decline in full-time jobs and about a 23% decline in part-time jobs year to year, March of 2020 to March 2021. We also found that about 2/3 of our small businesses lost 25% or more of their sales during that time. So that, when you put that in context to then thinking about how many businesses did we actually lose, and in our case, it was really just a little more than a handful. We were very fortunate there. Our business owners were very resourceful, and then as we juxtapose that against our economic reality of last year, we actually gained 13 new businesses. We lost some, of course, but we had 13 new ones that opened, and we had over $74 million worth of new investment in Uptown in 2020, despite the pandemic. So all in all, that's pretty darn encouraging. One real big advantage that Uptown has is, especially on Broadway, is its extra wide sidewalks. So that allowed our restaurants to be able to pivot very quickly to expand their outdoor dining options, which provides more safety for their workers and for the customers. And that, I think, was a very crucial urban design piece that we did without really
Kind of
understanding the
fell into
COVID. COVID was not in mind when we did this years ago.
Yeah.
But then when you look at a new project like Banks Food Hall that came online, they had designed that a few years back as well, but they have 3 sides of outdoor dining and patio as part of that building. So recognizing the outdoors has a big appeal for our market, they really had the foresight, and it worked out well that they opened in the middle of the pandemic with food vendors in the building, but yet having that outdoor space made people feel a lot safer and was safer.
2 things you're most excited about before we wrap things up.
Well, I'm really excited about the continued growth in our downtown, uptown residential. We have 3 or 4 new apartments that are underway right now, apartment projects, I should say, underway, generating about 100 new housing units. There is another one that's going to be announced very soon that will add to that total, so we're super excited about that. And then the next piece will just be our continued growth with our river amenities. We, of course, have the rafting and the zip lining, but our playground is about to get some work done to it to improve the surface of that. We added a photo opportunity for kids and kids of all ages to jump in a kayak and get a selfie done at either the splash pad or at Wave Shaper Island. And as we move into the summer season, those are just great family things that people can come and enjoy. And we're really excited to get our summer season going again.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Ed, I appreciate so much you're coming to visit with us. I think one of the nicest things about downtown, and some people think of it as a challenge, but you know, every business down here is a person. It's not a corporation. And I appreciate, you know, all that you're doing to help pull all that together and unify us all so that we can continue along that common mission. And if we all get vaccinated, things will be fine sooner than later, right?
Absolutely.
So I thank you very much, and it is my pleasure to present you with a RiverCenter face mask, which I
Awesome.
hope that you will wear
Absolutely.
often and wear it with pride.
Well designed too with the adjustable earpiece
It
on
will
it.
fit any size head or ear. It's great. It's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Edward. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining this RiverCenter Arts in the Spotlight conversation. If you would like to suggest a topic, organization, or individual for us to include in these conversations, please contact us through our website, www.rivercenter.org. And finally, you are important to us. Please take care and get vaccinated as soon as you can. If we all do our part, we'll be together sooner to celebrate the entertainment, art, and culture that defines Columbus as a great place to live, work, and play. We look forward to continuing these conversations as we restart the arts in Columbus, Georgia.